On this episode of the Star Trek Universe podcast, we are talking about Star Trek Picard, shocker, 106, The Impossible Box, right after this commercial that we have absolutely no control over.
Welcome to the Star Trek Universe podcast. My name is Matthew Carroll.
I am David C. Robertson.
Well, my friend, it is time to talk about Star Trek Picard, and
it is.
Full spoiler alert, we're going to get into this episode. I am actually really excited about this episode. We've been watching these two disparate storylines sort of like build on each other, and both of them came to a head with Picard finally reaching Soji, and obviously Narek finally breaking through to Soji and Soji becoming activated. This is a big episode. I dug it.
This was a good episode. It was really good.
Yeah, agreed.
I will say I am troubled by just how willing Picard is. Not that he hasn't been this way before in any other series or anything, but I'm troubled by how willing he is to like basically use Raffi up. Like he's just like, do whatever you have to do, please. Do the thing that'll like make your friend not ever want to speak to you again. Like, man,
I totally agree. I don't know if he knew that was a consequence of what he was trying to get done.
Right, but he's been kind of imposing upon her this entire time, and it's clear that she's not okay. Like, she's not mentally stable. She should be in some sort of program or something. Like, I don't know. It's just, it feels a little like Ahab trying to catch that whale, man.
Except it's not, this is not a trip of revenge. This is Ahab trying to help. Ahab trying to save Soji.
Yeah, but he's also after like the last remnants of Data,
which I think all of that is positive. He's trying to do a positive thing. He's trying to do a good thing in the world, not just we're talking about First Contact and him being Ahab. Like, right. It's revenge. There's nothing positive necessarily.
What I'm saying is his goal that he's sort of like just narrowly focusing in on.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
And saying to hell with everybody else.
Agreed.
In a lot of ways.
I completely agree with that. And I think that is a good point. And I'm not discounting that he's a single-minded man on a single-minded mission, but like, I also just, his motivations are different than Ahab.
It reminded me of Nemesis when he's in sickbay and Counselor Troy has just been mind raped by Shinzon, and Picard is like, now if you can withstand another one of these attacks. And I'm like, oh dude,
right,
dude, give it some time. Yeah. Oh my god.
Sometimes the mission takes precedent over his people, which is a shitty thing to say, but it is a trait of Picard.
I know.
And when I just rewatched last week's episode, and Maddox is lying there dying, and it reminded me of episodes. Picard says something to or Girardi comes up and says, "All right, Captain, he needs a break. He needs to rest or whatever." And Picard immediately leaves, and it just reminded me of a lot of episodes of TNG where there's some medical emergency, and Picard is like, Crusher, wake them up, and Crusher's like, I can't. And I was actually like surprised by how quickly Picard gave in that moment to Girardi, because that's not how he used to be. But I don't know. It does show sort of just like this overall single-mindedness. When he's on mission, he's on mission.
I'm not saying that he hasn't been that way before by any stretch, because he absolutely has. It's just, oh my lord, man. And this is exactly what happened before with Raffi, because she obviously lost everything following him while he was on some single-minded mission to do, X, Y, and Z. I'm not saying what he was trying to do was wrong. I'm not saying, she shouldn't have been kicked out for his conspiracy theories, but
the thing that sent her down the rabbit hole, though, wasn't him on a single-minded mission. It was him giving up the mission.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it was her losing faith with Picard, because at one point Rafi, that hopeful Rafi that we see in the episode 2, I think it is, when we see him getting fired.
Yeah.
Rafi is so hopeful and she's so on board that, let's burn down our careers because we're going to go save the people. What's the next step? Like, I don't care what the Federation says. What are we going to do next to help the Romulans? And then he gives up on that. And maybe he thinks that the best thing he can do for her is to be the old Jean-Luc again. Mm-hmm. I totally understand a lot of people hate the JL thing. It doesn't really bother me.
I'm used to it at this point.
I think I've gotten used to it too. And I keep almost calling him that because it's just really easy. Jean-Luc is really hard. Is really hard to say, and especially if he's not the captain, which is the case here. Like back in the day, they always called him Captain. But yeah, I don't know. I get the annoyance, especially if it's back in the day when he's like actually her captain, and she keeps calling him JL. That is a little like familiar, I guess, especially when we know for many years on the Enterprise, no one really called him. Some people called him Jean-Luc. No, not really. They mostly just called him Captain.
Yeah, except for when Riker became a Q for like 5 minutes and had quickly just started calling him Jean-Luc, and Picard was like, notice how quickly you've now started referring to me as Jean-Luc instead of Captain. He's like, oh, well shit, no, I don't need Q powers. Damn it.
It's such a narrow-minded reason to not want Q powers.
It was one of those little things where Riker had to be like, oh shit, look at how quickly I have acclimated to this power. Yeah. I don't need this. This is the worst thing in the world for me to have. It took me like 5 minutes of being a Q.
So,
oh man.
The highlight of this episode for me is Picard all around. I mean, there's a lot going on. I liked a lot of the characters, but like Picard returning to a Borg cube, Picard meeting Hugh again after so long.
Yes.
So good. When he says, I'll take a friendly face, and they hug in a way that they never could have before.
Yeah.
And Hugh's like, I'll help you in any way that I can. And I'm actually really worried about Hugh now because he is left on this Borg cube with Elnor to defend him, which is wonderful, but like, because Elnor's a badass. Also, speaking of Elnor, that guy does not keep his promises. I kind of thought when he made that promise to Picard to fight when Picard says to fight and to kill when Picard says to kill, he would keep that promise, but apparently that's not part of the deal.
Yeah, no.
With the Kabat Malat, I can't remember how you say it.
Yeah, he's not a real one anyway because he's a dude.
Sure, but that's his entire. He was raised to be that.
Nah, it's over now.
It's interesting. We don't know what their rules are. There's definitely precedent in storytelling like this where you've got like a character that will defend you to the death, even at your insistence that they don't.
Right.
But also, it annoyed me because you also had Soji there who was activated, which, I mean, sure, Elnor didn't know, but it annoyed me because, like, there's probably no reason for Elnor to have gone down there at all, except now to be there, which is sort of an expositional reason. I don't know if you saw the trailer for next week, but it looks like Hugh, Elnor, and the crew are all stuck with this cube and the situation in Romulan space, while Picard and Soji are dealing with stuff on a distant planet. And I think that sounds really interesting because what they've done is they've built this crew up for us to care about them. We know about their inner workings. And now we're going to get two different sort of storylines in two different places. It reminds me of something like which I don't think you ever watched, but Game of Thrones. In the first season of Game of Thrones, everyone's together for like the first episode. And you kind of get to know everybody and who they are as a family. And then they all separate to different parts of the world. And then the entire show is them separated, mostly. And so it's like you get to care about them together. And now they're going to separate them and have them have different storylines where eventually they'll have to come together and do something. Which obviously these Romulans are going to want to track down this planet with 2 red moons. Mm-hmm. And Soji is clearly going to take him there as well. Take Picard there as well.
No, I will say that like one of my big qualms with the show so far is I feel like Captain Rios should have been able to anticipate pretty much everything that's happened so far.
In what way?
Well, you would think he would just be able to go, consult his crystal ball. That's his first name, Crystal Ball.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. I'm just kidding. I don't have that problem with the show.
I was like, is that just a pun on his name? It's good.
Yes, that's all it is.
It's good. I like it. It was a long walk, but I like it.
I've been looking for an inn for 6 weeks now. I've found none. I had to go ahead and do it.
We kind of get a chance to see a lot more of the Borg, the XBs as they're called, which I loved the line, a new name can be the first step to establishing a new identity or whatever. He's talking about giving them the XBs, and Hugh says, I learned that, on the Enterprise. So cool. Such a cool Easter egg for how he got his name and how that meant something to him. I love
How much did you love that scene where Picard is looking at the old picture of himself as Locutus and is like lining his face up with it when they did that with the camera and he's like freaking out.
I loved that moment. I had a few issues with it.
What was your issue?
I know it's super petty, but just freaking Picard Google image searching the Borg.
I don't think he was Google searching it.
Obviously not, but that's what he was doing. That's what he's like. I feel like he knows. He said, what did he say? He said 3 things: the Borg, the artifact, and the Romulan treaty or whatever. I feel like what he needed was what is the artifact and what is this Romulan treaty, and he needed like read the treaty, which would have made a lot more sense. But they wanted that shot of him looking through himself, which I get. It's a great shot, but it didn't make a lot of sense for him to like be just Tinder swiping through a Google image search of the Borg.
Hey man, we don't know how that future tech works. I Tinder swipe through many of things. I've never been on Tinder.
I'm just teasing, but
nah, man, it didn't bother me at all.
It's fun. It was funny to me.
I tell you what did problem. What did irk me? I was like, oh, so you could show Hugh and yourself in some shitty ass makeup from the Next Generation, but you can't show my classic Enterprise.
Sure.
And by the way, that was the Locutus makeup they later retconned in First Contact too. Like in First Contact, they showed like glimpses of him as Locutus, and he suddenly had like the blotchy Voyager veins and stuff. And okay, all right, I see how y'all playing.
Yeah, classic Star Trek, updating the looks of things.
I don't like it.
I know, but they've been doing it since the top, man.
Not even like the Klingons on the original series maintain the same look.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like they change throughout, and I'm sure various things change about all kinds of stuff in the original series because they definitely weren't. They did not know what they were building.
Oh yeah, including the Enterprise.
Right, exactly.
I've said it before. Like all those different stock shots of different models
that change in the same episode and stuff. Yeah. So like, yeah, I know it annoys you when they do it now because you're like, well, they could have resolved it all, but at the same time, stuff that's been going on since the beginning. They've been updating things since the very beginning.
I loved Soji's entire arc here. I loved her story here. That was so cool that she was like dating everything in her house or her little quarters or whatever, and everything was like 37 months old. Oh,
that's a classic scene. I mean, just the idea that reminded me of like something as foundational as like The Matrix, where you get you take the pill and realize that the world is you're a battery or whatever. Like the idea that everything in your world could be 3 months old and all of your memories could be implanted. That's a terrifying and just a classic sci-fi thing. Like, not classic as in old, but like a new classic. I loved that scene.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
And this episode opens with a flashback, as a lot of them do. At least it seems to be a flashback of young Soji, but turns out to be a nightmare.
Yeah.
And I loved that, because as the episode was going, I was like, how is she? Did she grow at regular age? Because that makes no sense. Because this guy's only been on the run for 14 years. So that doesn't make sense. And my brain was wrecked trying to figure it out. And then I realized, oh, this is all implanted, every bit of it, which we kind of knew, but we didn't know how long she'd actually been around. I was thinking it could have been a thing where like she grew up quickly as a synth or something like that. But it does appear that she's probably invented at this age somehow. Yeah, I loved all that. I love the Soji stuff they're doing.
Yeah, I really liked that. I really liked the world building they're doing with the Romulans. I like that the Romulans have secret names that they only let their beloved partners know and stuff. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's so Romulan.
Do you think he gave her his real?
I think he did.
Name?
I think he did. Based on how he was reacting as she was basically about to die, and she was freaking out at the door. Like, he looked like he was just...
He did.
Beside himself with grief.
He looked really torn up. He looked like but I don't know, man. He also is in the act of killing her. It's tough. I want to see a redemption arc for Narek, but I don't know. Or whatever his actual name is.
I don't know. I could have missed myself at some point trying to remember that it was Rios, and I was like, no, that's the other guy. That's not him.
Rios.
It's just a more Romulan pronunciation of Rios. He's like, Rios. No, it's not, Dave. It's not. I swear. I promise you.
Yeah.
All right, me.
Getting to see Hugh in a little more fleshed out this episode was freaking awesome. Hugh's always been one of my favorite characters from The Next Generation. Two of my favorite episodes from The Next Generation, particularly his first episode, Iborg. I just love that episode, and it is so good to see him again.
Yeah, I agree. And when he and Picard hugged, I got a little bit choked up, for sure.
Oh, for sure, man.
I probably would have gotten more choked up if I wasn't, like, eating. You know how, like, when you're eating and you're watching something, you don't get nearly, because you're kind of focused on the food that you're eating. And
sure.
You're like, yeah. Like,
doing anything while you're watching a thing is like, if you're really wanting to get invested, is a bad idea. Yeah, these days it's hard because it's so hard for you to just take 2 hours or an hour or whatever and just watch a thing. You know, but it's always better. Like, every TV show and movie is better if you put your phone down, put your food down, like whatever you have to do, and just like give it the 45 minutes the show deserves. And like, I'm glad I've really been trying to do that with this show. Just like not do anything else. Just watch the show. My dog makes that hard because my dog is 7 months old and still trying to chew everything. So I have to keep stopping him from destroying my couch and stuff.
well, like, I'm paying, attention. I was hungry.
Oh yeah, no, I hear you. I'm not judging.
Now you made it seem like I'm like less of a fan or something because I was eating wonderful chicken bacon ranch casserole.
Oh no! I was eating too at some point in this episode. During one of the commercial breaks, I got up and got me a taco.
That's fair.
Some homemade tacos, but yeah, it's just that it's always it is always slightly distracting.
Yeah, I'll send you the recipe for this chicken bacon ranch thing, man. It's like keto. It's so good.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
I was kind of disappointed that when he opened the radiation thing, it wasn't the same tech from Nemesis.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
In the scene, Soji is in the little temple or whatever, and he opens that thing. I guess it could be. It's just a different color. I basically just wish.
It was a different color. It was the same tech.
Yeah, well, it operates very differently than. It's definitely similar tech, which is why I kind of wish they'd done the art similarly, because what they did with that, if you remember in Nemesis, they do this thing where it like goes up above everyone and disperses, and then everything falls apart. All the biological life falls apart.
Yeah.
This was a little more like a gas, which it
was a smaller space.
Sure. But they could have done a little bit more of a visual nod to that.
Yeah, I thought it was enough of a visual nod, and what they were using, the material they were using in Nemesis was this, whatever that green stuff was that Data had to shoot because it was going to destroy everything.
Yeah, whatever the weird compound of that movie. I feel like every movie they have a different weird compound that is the MacGuffin. Yeah. Trilithium, I think, was in Generations.
Yeah, and that had already been used as a completely separate thing in Next Generation.
I don't doubt it.
One of those little bugaboos.
I can't remember what it's called in Nemesis. I do my best to forget most of that movie.
I don't. I try to remember everything, but I'm just teasing. Once it gets to sci-fi foolishness names, I start having a hard time.
Yeah,
I'll remember a lot of them. My God, I just can't remember that one.
Who else have we not talked about yet? We talked about Elnor and how Elnor doesn't keep his promises.
How about Allison Pill getting down with Captain Rios?
It was hot as hell, is what I think. I feel like people couldn't be like, well, why is she doing that? But I think she's probably doing it because I think she's more of a spy than we realize. I think I don't know. How genuine do you think she's being? Do you think she's seeking comfort in Rios, or is she manipulating him the way she's manipulating most everyone else?
I don't believe she's manipulating with malice. I think she is looking for comfort. And I think that whatever she was shown, it has warped her mind enough that she felt that she had to do what she did. I think she's still a good character, but that might be my own bias.
Yeah, I know you want to believe that.
I mean, I don't care either way.
I'm sitting here saying the same thing about Narek. Like, maybe Narek's going to get redeemed.
Right. No, with Allison Pill, it doesn't matter to me whether she's a good guy or a bad guy. I'm going to like her because I like her acting.
Yeah.
And it's not even a thing where it's like, oh snap, she's hot as hell or something. It's not that. It's because I don't think she's necessarily hot. She's cute, but it's a different kind of crush. You know what I mean? You're just like, oh, I just want to hug her. Just want to hug her and be like, hey man, what's up? I want you to be a drummer for my band. Of course, that might be a little bit of Scott Pilgrim coming in.
For sure. The only thing that, I don't know, I really just wish that Hugh and Elnor had gotten in the trajector. You know what I mean? I don't understand why they didn't hop in the trajector with them.
I didn't get that either.
I feel like it's just a plot thing. Like it's just they want the future of it doesn't make sense from a character perspective. I guess maybe it makes sense for Hugh because he feels responsible for the people there, but doesn't really make sense for Elnor.
Yeah, Hugh was responsible for the people there. There was no way he was going to leave, and Elnor stayed there to protect Hugh.
I don't believe that out of Elnor. Like Elnor has his sword. His sword is sworn to Picard.
Yeah, but Hugh is Picard's boy.
He says he's staying behind to defend their exit, which doesn't make any sense with the way that trajector worked.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Out. It didn't make sense. I didn't like that.
I mean, maybe it made sense if he meant that, until they could get that room closed and hidden again, and that room was almost not hidden. It was closing up just enough as those guys came around the corner.
Yeah, that's a good headcanon. I like that a lot, but they could have had that conversation.
Star Trek taught me that.
Oh yeah, there's me too, my friend, me too. It absolutely could have been it absolutely could have had that conversation. Like, hey, if they find the queen room, or the queen chamber, or whatever they called it, if they find this queen chamber, they're going to know where you went. So we need to get this room hidden. And Elnor could have said, I'll make sure they don't find it. And he could have headed into the hallway or whatever. So that would have made a lot of sense. But him being like, I'm going to guard your exit, it didn't make a lot of sense. It effectively could be the same thing. And your headcanon works. But yeah, I just kind of wish they'd had that conversation instead of what they had.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think that's all the character stuff. This episode's really great.
Yes, I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Looking at next week on, I'm assuming where Picard had them teleported to or trajectored to is Riker and Troy's planet.
Yeah.
Which is super exciting.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'd like to see those cats.
Me too, man. Me too. And I'm excited to see what a crew looks like without Picard. The crew looks like without Picard. Like if it's Girardi, Rios, Rafi, and then probably Hugh and Elnor will probably somehow make their way back to the ship, I'm guessing. And so we're going to get all those people on the ship. Well, I don't know. It depends on Hugh. I can't imagine the Romulans allowing Hugh to stay after he helped Picard.
Yeah.
And I liked Hugh's mission, and we've talked about it every episode lately. We talked about Rios starting his own little show with Rios and the Holograms, and Seven having a Fenris Ranger show. By the way, I saw somebody post online that the show we need next out of Star Trek is a 7 of 9 Ro Lauren Fenris Ranger show.
That would be really cool,
right?
Except, I'm assuming she could probably do more than one thing in a year. But Jerry Ryan just got a new show.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, she became like, she's not like the star of the show. She's like the second,
Right.
Well, she's or maybe not. Maybe she's just like a guest star. She's got a multi-episode arc as Mac's mom on MacGyver.
Oh, okay.
That's what it is. So yeah, she could still do this.
Yeah, for sure. I loved the throw in of Ro Lauren, because that's been a speculation for a long time. What happened to her, because she was supposed to be Kira Nerys, and then they had to change it because of whatever contract negotiations or whatever.
Yeah, Michelle Forbes didn't want it. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's always been fascinated with what happened to her character, and Fenris Rangers seems like exactly the kind of crew she would get up with after the Maquis.
And you know who else does? Who else sounds like that? Freaking Chakotay.
Yeah, I was about to say, as soon as it came out of my mouth that a Maquis person would join Fenris Rangers, it would totally make sense if Chakotay was like a Fenris Ranger as well. And like, it'd be really neat to see 7 of 9 and him have like a relationship that is not romantic anymore or something, like they had their dalliance with romance, but now they still work together as Fenris Rangers. It would like complicate their relationship enough. That'd be really fun. Man, we're writing a good show.
Dude, I ain't even gonna play, man. I ain't even gonna play. You know what I mean? Like, it would make total sense. Maybe not for the entire show, but it would make total sense for B'Elanna and Tom to be Fenris Rangers as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Like, it would make sense for them to, because we never really jumped in. Like, they were worried at the end of Voyager's run about like how the Federation would deal with the Maquis crew. If they never felt like they ever like belonged anywhere after coming back. Mm-hmm.
Or they just spent the last 7 years defending Federation ideals across the Delta Quadrant, and now suddenly the Federation's no longer the Federation, and they all go off. Like, what if Voyager itself has been like basically stolen and is a Fenris Ranger ship under the command of like Tom Paris or whatever, like he's the pilot, and like,
and it still looks exactly the same.
Yeah, it's still actually, it would be hugely cathartic for me to see that they had like straight up changed Voyager around and like done a bunch of alien technology on it It would be like really cathartic for me. Because they never did that in the even though they were in the Delta Quadrant with no.
That's what I need.
Yep, that's what I need.
I just had a crazy thought a little while ago. As I was watching this episode, I was like, I wonder if what they showed Alison Pill was her becoming the Borg Queen in the future. I don't have anything to back that up.
Interesting.
But if she was looking at her own future and all of the horrible, because we were talking about, like, last week we were talking about the possibility that the Romulans would create the Borg.
Yeah. No, that's not bad. And her saying the big thing that supports your idea is the idea that, like, she says that's one more thing for me to atone for. What if she's atoning for actions that she knows she eventually will take?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's a rough idea, and I like it. It is a little out of nowhere, but I do like it.
Or there might be a possibility that, like, she's seen something else entirely, and she decides that you can't, like, you can't be completely synthetic. You have to be synthetic with the organic. You have to have humanity there, and then she creates the Borg and herself as the Borg Queen somehow. Man,
Alison Pill as the creator of the Borg is crazy and dark and interesting.
Yeah,
and she has the technology to do it. Like to combine the synthetic and the biological. Yeah, that's cool. I like that. That's not bad.
And she's going to a planet of machines. You know, you remember. You remember that in the motion picture, Spock inside of V'ger says that he sees the homeworld that repaired V'ger, a planet made of entirely of machines.
Oh, that's a good call. The home planet that made V'ger could be the Nest. Mm-hmm. It's pretty good, man. It's pretty good. I dig it. I dig it. I want to expound on it, but I think you got a good little. I don't think it's where they're going, but
probably not.
I like that. I like the thought there. It ties a lot of fun stuff together, and it would be like a really epic ending if there's like an ending where there's like time travel and Alison Pill going back in time on this Nest planet where she like sends all the synths and realizes that she needs to, needs to make sure they don't exist, but somehow combines herself with them, and and then somehow they find a piece of wreckage that is the Voyager 1 or whatever. Yeah,
I'm very interested in where this show is going. We don't have that many episodes left. They've got to wrap up all the hologram shit, the Doctor, all of that stuff that we said we had to see now.
Well, to be fair, I don't think we even necessarily have to get it all this season, but like, yeah, I would. Oh man, I do love our Doctor theory. I freaking love our Doctor theory. No. See, next season's got to be wrapping up shit with Q and Guinan, and then the next season's got to be next season's got to be freaking Bajorans. Or somebody, you know, like some other thing that they didn't wrap up in next gen. I would love for, they have a good third season crossover with the Fenris Rangers show. And we finally find out the back history.
We're just like referring to that as a real thing.
Yeah, no, it was supposed to be kind of sort of a joke, but yeah, the third season crossover with the Fenris Rangers show, where we get an actual backstory for Ro Lauren and what she was doing during the fight with the Cardassians and the Dominion War, like what she was doing during the Dominion War, and then like we find out her relationship with like Garrick or something. And like Garrett gets to come back.
Dude, I would love to see a Ro Lauren show for real.
Oh
like, yeah, let's do it. All the things. Let's do all the things.
I'd love to see that Ro Lauren, like what she's doing in during the Dominion War and stuff. Like that sounds super fun. And the way they've told this story with all the flashbacks, they could do something very similar with a Ro Lauren or Fenris Ranger show or whatever.
You know what my favorite part of this right now is?
What?
I don't think I have felt quite this way since you and I were like 12 and like 12 or 13 laying on the grass outside of the church we grew up in, talking about Deep Space Nine and Voyager.
Yep. Same here, man. Same here. I've had this experience a little bit, like loving the Marvel Cinematic Universe so much and like talking about that sort of speculation. But I mean, Star Trek's my home, Star Trek's like what I grew up with in such a intense way, and seeing all of this and having this opportunity to like explore these characters again and stuff that I mean, we were having these same conversations, 30 years ago. Well, 25, I guess, 24, 25, something
We've
like that
grown.
years ago. You're right. but it's like to finally have all this stuff to be possible to have like legitimate speculation about is I couldn't ask for more. I'm loving it.
Yeah, man. Good stuff.
We're gonna do a new segment of Easter eggs we noticed, and we're recording this immediately after the episode, so we're not gonna get as many as like a lot of the YouTubers around or whatnot. But the ones that give 3 days. But these are just a few of the Easter eggs we noticed. What you got?
All right, the Sicarians, the teleportation device they used on this episode of Voyager, of Picard, was from a race in the Delta Quadrant from Star Trek Voyager and the Sicarians, and they had that spatial trajector, and that's exactly what Picard used here. It was in the episode Prime Factors. So there's that.
Love that. Yep. They were a race who had that technology, and Janeway tried to get it from them and then couldn't get them to agree, and then she stole the technology, but it ended up not working with Federation tech, which doesn't matter here because it's working with Borg tech.
Yep.
So that's fun.
Yeah.
My favorite Easter egg, and I mentioned it earlier, but my favorite Easter egg / connection to previous content was Hugh's name. I really loved the a new name can be the first step in establishing new identity. I learned that on the Enterprise. Really, really loved that connection to not only, I mean, just Hugh being there itself is almost an Easter egg because it's only from 2 episodes, but like we've seen about as much as Hugh as we've seen of the spatial trajector, it's not that much Hugh, but like, so it's him being around it all, but him like really connecting to the fact that he found his name there, and a classic scene where it's him and Geordi and Crusher, and she keeps saying you. He's saying you over and over, and then Geordi gives him a name. Geordi says, "That's it. We'll call you Hugh." And and then he takes on that name, and the fact that he stuck with that name, I just shows how much that the Enterprise meant to him. And it really, that episode is so meaningful for me. I really love that episode.
I loved in this episode of Picard how Picard kind of goes back to his like prejudice against the Borg and says that, they can't change. All they do is consume. They don't change. They metastasize. Really harsh words. And then he gets aboard that cube, and he thinks they're going to assimilate him, and it's because they don't want him to fall. And he like almost tearfully is like, what you've done here is you have changed the Borg. You've made a way for them to come back. Now, I think that's going to be important. I predict that the artifact is going to wind up being exploded, and Picard is going to find a way to save those Borg or those ex-Borg.
I love that. I loved the whole conversation with Hugh and Picard talking about what they should do to fight for the freedom of these Borg. And now that it looks like we're going to be having a real fight with this, with the artifact facing off with our kind of crew here. I think you're right. I think they're the innocent victims of this entire scenario that Picard is going to end up caring about and saving some Borg. I like that a lot.
It's going to be, him redeeming himself for what happened with the Romulans by saving his greatest enemy.
I love that.
I think that's probably I imagine that's what'll happen.
This is not a very deep Easter egg, but I liked that they talk about the Queen Chamber, because in First Contact we assumed that the the Queen was a one entity thing, but then we find out on Voyager that she is multitudes. There is it seems like there may be a Queen on every cube. We're not totally sure about that, but like it seems to be that there's a Queen at least in every. Maybe if there's a Queen for every sector or whatever, but in this there is a chamber for the Queen on this cube, and I thought that was kind of neat.
Right. And, depending on how much money production has, she's either Susanna Thompson or she's Alice Krieger.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like Dr. Hugh. There's like an in-universe reason for her to change, faces because she's literally different bodies.
I was like, one of the crappiest things to me is like in the last episode of Voyager, they're like, and Alice is coming back from First Contact. I'm like, dude, that is like the shittiest thing to do to Susanna. Like, she has been aptly playing the Borg Queen this entire time. And now it's like the big showdown that she's been waiting for, and she gets like upstaged by the lady who was the queen in the movie.
That's a bummer. I didn't even realize that. That's funny. This is a Easter egg that I really liked. The shifting walls on the Borg cube. Like, I think that this isn't maybe I don't know if they intended this or not, but like the shifting walls, I can see some people being like, Borg cubes don't do that. But in the very first appearance of the Borg, in Q Who, the episode Q Who, they damage the outer hull of the Borg cube, and the way that it comes back together, they actually use an old, because it's the 80s or whatever, it's early 90s. They actually what they do is they melt down the plastic of the Borg cube, and then they reverse the footage so it like slowly pieces itself back together. And that reminded me a lot of what's going on here with the shifting walls. I know we've never seen it since then, but I just thought that was neat because it kind of, even though I can totally see some people being like, Borg cubes don't do that. They have to repair things or whatever. I think this is actually a pretty cool connection to the very first time we ever see a Borg cube, where it rebuilds itself in sort of a shifting, a sort of almost liquid way. And that's, so there's definitely precedent for that. And I thought that was a really neat connection. So that's the episode Q Who. So anyway, that's all I got for Easter eggs.
All right. Now, the way since we've never seen that again, like the way I always envisioned it, the way I always headcanoned it was that like those Borg must have assimilated a race that could do that. And then for whatever reason, it hadn't gotten to other Borg. And then they decided it wasn't efficient. It wasn't an efficient use of energy, so they just nixed it.
Right. Well, I like, and that's absolutely possible. And it's possible that they like over the course of the last, 30 years, the Borg found a way to make that technology work better because they assimilated some other technology. So I think it's very possible that that you're right, and then that they somehow made that technology work better based on some other technology. Now it all working harmoniously, and we got this brand new cool Borg cube. And in this episode, Hugh says to Picard, like talking about their trajector, the Sicarian trajector, says that this is tech that they assimilated after you.
Right.
So it's clear that Picard, the Borg do not have to look the same as they did, 30 years ago.
Oh. Yeah, no, absolutely not.
Yeah. So we got some feedback, I hear?
We do. Jason Smith over on the Facebook page, the Star Trek Universe Podcast Facebook page. Guys, come like us. Talk to us.
Like us.
We're here. We're here for you.
We're real needy.
That's we will be the bosom that you nuzzle into as you weep your qualms.
Weep your qualms? What the...
I don't know, man. It was the funniest thing I could think of to say. The old qualm sob,
Yeah, I hear you. We've all heard our qualm songs on this podcast. This is my qualm song.
I said qualm sob.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's my song thing.
Yeah. Yeah, you got songs on the brain, man.
I do.
Not saying you shouldn't. I ain't saying you're wrong for it. I'm just saying.
It's what I do. It's what I do.
All right. So Jason Smith says to us, all right, had a theory pop in my head while listening to your last podcast. Well, first of all, thank you for listening. He says, what if they do a retcon on Data/lore and why the two were created? What if it's the same reason as why there are two Data daughters? Creating the engrams or whatever technobabble it is creates two distinct consciousnesses. I know B4 would seem to be a hole in the theory, but I think the difference is that B4 is more like a synth and not truly sentient. It's the sentience that creates two. As for the nest, what if there isn't multiple sentient synths? What if it's just the two, and when they died, their acquired knowledge gets downloaded into a new body? Would explain why they needed them alive to find the nest. Kind of a little like Battlestar Galactica-ish. But considering they seem to be going down the organic versus Siths road, it's what made me think of it. What do you guys think?
I like the reference there to Battlestar. You never watched Battlestar, did you?
I watched the miniseries and select episodes. I didn't select them. You selected them as you were just plowing through it. I watched several episodes here and there, right? And then I watched the last episode. Oh, okay, yeah. I liked it enough to. I actually do want to go back and watch it, but I still haven't gotten to it.
Gotcha. Well, they have a whole thing where the Cylons, the robot people that look like people, when they die, they get transported. Their consciousness gets transported back, which that's a cool idea. I love the idea of getting to meet Daj again. I get such affection for Daj in that first episode, and then they killed her, and it really makes me sad. And part of me wants them to leave it that way because I like Death to Matter, but it's always that like struggle between wanting Death to Matter and how cool is it to get our characters back that we like,
Yeah. And, Jason mentions this hole in his theory about B4 being the hole. But if you apply my theory that B4 is really a modified lore body, because keep in mind, in Descent, they shut down lore. They shut him down. And I would assume they sent lore back to Bruce Maddox to analyze.
You'd think, yeah.
Yeah. So if lore is we're doing a whole series where we've got Bruce Maddox, we've got the Romulans, and we've got the Borg. I don't see any reason why we couldn't link up the Romulans having acquired lore, calling him B4, and putting him on that planet for the next gen crew to find.
Yeah, it's possible. I think that's a weird retcon. I think more likely if they're going to do something with lore and Data having partner versions or whatever, mirror versions of themselves, I think it would be more likely that B4 has his own brother out there. Like or like he said, it's sentience that creates the doubles or something like that. But yeah, I think it's interesting. And we know, except we do know, supposedly, at least based on Next Generation, that lore was an earlier version, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it is always weird. I guess he was an earlier version, but he was more complete than Data, because he did have more features than Data, like his ability to feel emotions and things.
Yeah, I don't remember. I'm pretty sure like he didn't have the ethical subroutines. I think he had emotions.
You know what it might have been, and this is let's headcanon episodes from 30 years ago.
I've been doing that for 30 years.
Let's go down that rabbit hole. It could be that they finished lore. They gave him his emotion chip, and we've seen what happens to Data when his emotion chip conflicts with his ethical subroutines. Mm-hmm. And lore turned out to not be the most ethical dude. And so Sung, when he's trying to create Data, that's maybe why he didn't give him his emotion chip. He was trying to perfect that process and never got the chance because that crystal and entity destroyed the planet, or the culture of that planet. Civilization's the word I was looking for.
All right.
And then, lore continued to go on being the bad boy of the Sung androids.
Yeah.
Man, now I'm hoping that lore does come back this season so I can write a song called The Bad Boy of the Sung Androids.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, man. I really want B4 because to me B4 never made sense within the canon, the Soong canon. I truly believe and I truly hope that B4 is a hollowed out, deconstructed lore. It just makes so much more sense to me.
Why? I don't understand why B4 doesn't make sense from the jump.
He just doesn't make sense to me because, I mean, I guess he could be a former version.
Yeah.
That's fine.
That's what we always assumed.
But just, I mean, I guess we could say the Romulans just found him just like the Federation found Lore. I don't know. It's just always seemed a little too convenient for me.
It could be that Soong created him on a different planet that was near the neutral zone, and the Romulans came and he had to rush off, and then he went on to create more androids somewhere else. There's a lot of ways to headcanon that to make sense.
Why would Soong never say, hey, why would he never tell Data, hey, you have another brother out there too, and he's like mentally challenged?
Well, it could be that he just assumed. I mean, it could be that he just assumed, especially now that we know how Romulans feel about synths. It's very possible he just assumed he was destroyed.
Yeah, maybe so. I don't know. Just my own little hang-ups. But I think it would be a cool twist either way.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially with the there must be two thing.
Sure. But yeah, that's a whole thing with this particular process. But, it's possible. It's very possible that we'll get something with Data and Lore being similar to Doj and Soji. Doji and Saj.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've just got to work through my own little weird hang-ups in my brain, and
yeah, no, that's what we're here for, man. This isn't just a podcast where we sit and theorize and have fun. This is also a support group for canon issues where we try to help each other headcanon everything.
Right. Yeah. I don't ever want to come to this show I don't want anyone to come to this show thinking that I'm just looking to shit on stuff, because I'm not. I just, I need help sometimes, y'all. Come on.
Yeah, I'm with you, man.
I don't blindly like everything. All right. As for the nest, I think B4 is sentient. It clearly has a self-awareness and seems sad and things,
That's true. He does seem that way. It really just raises the question of what is sentience. And I know they talk about it a lot in Measure of a Man. They give those 3 criteria or whatever. But yeah, what is sentience? That's the question. And it's like, when do we draw the line? When is synthetic life valuable? And it's a thing, man. It's a hard question to answer. And for Bruce Maddox, for instance, Data seems to cross that line after he realizes he has these complex relationships, and he had loved Tasha Yar and all this stuff. Like, but what does it mean for B4? Is B4 too rudimentary to be sentient? Has he crossed that barrier? What is that barrier? Like, there's a lot of questions there that I don't think we can really answer.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I'm excited about it, though, and I hope you're right. Honestly, I hope you're right that this all turns out to be a reveal that we are synthetic life that the preservers created.
I do like that theory.
That's a cool theory,
fun
man.
Theory. But I like your Allison Pill as the Borg Queen, because she kind of has that look too, like how
she does.
She kind of does. And it sounds offensive, but it's not. I could totally see that face becoming the Borg Queen face. Absolutely.
I don't see why both can't be true.
That's true. That's fair. But my favorite hope and theory is the Doctor theory, and I really want that. Man,
I don't see a reason that can't be true either.
I'm just having fun, man. I'm just having fun theorizing about Star Trek again.
Fan wink.
All right. Well, I guess that's about it. You got anything else you want to do before we head off and try to get this thing edited and posted?
Yeah, we had a couple more things. Karen Elizabeth Huffstutler on the Facebook page says, "Is it just me, or is anyone else not feeling the Picard title sequence theme? I find myself really wanting a skip intro button." I wouldn't mind a skip intro button.
Sure.
but I like the theme.
I don't dislike the theme, but I definitely am with Karen that I have found myself. It's very slow, deliberately thoughtful theme, and it's not one I can hum. Like when I watch DS9, I'm singing that with the thing every time it comes on. I almost never skip it because I enjoy singing it.
What's funny is I felt that way about the DS9 theme for a few years. And now I don't feel that way at all. With the Picard theme, I like how much it feels like the old movies. I like how much it reminds me of Ilea's theme. I like how it feels very Jerry Goldsmith. And I also like that it has that flute. It brings back Inner Light to me. And I love that it has those notes from Jerry Goldsmith's motion picture and subsequent Next Generation score. So
yeah, I'm on board with all that. I love all of that. I really do. But I still get her point that it's not a jam.
A jam. You want a little Faith of the Heart, man?
Yeah. No, I was gonna say this is going the opposite direction from Faith of the Heart. Like they went with Faith of the Heart, and it was like, that's a little too far in the let's write a catchy tune direction. And then now they've gone the opposite direction with this one.
Yeah, it's funny because I've seen I think it perfectly fits the show, the theme does. And I've seen so many people complain that like Discovery's like, oh, it's Kurtzman Trek, it's JJ Trek, it's nothing but Star Wars, whiz, boom, pew, pew, too fast paced. And now they're watching Picard and the same people are complaining like, it's so slow. I'm like, oh, shut up.
Well,
figure it out.
Figure it out. Is that intended to be a Letterkenny reference?
No, I don't know that show or I don't like what I've seen of it.
Oh man, it's the best show.
That's so weird. Everybody, like, so many people keep saying that. And I'm like, I keep looking at clips and going, I don't get it.
Oh man, watch the very first scene of the very first episode. And if you don't like it, I get it. It's fine. Maybe it's not for everybody, but like, man, that first it knows what it is from the very first moments, and it's so funny.
All right, we've got some feedback from SL Fricky over on Twitter. The Joke's on Stu. He's a good guy. He listens to DC on Screen as well. But he says, I guess this is why they didn't bring back the original Icheb actor. And I've seen a lot of Star Trek fans upset that, one, they killed off Icheb, and two, that they replaced the actor. But he sent us a screenshot of Manu Intiraymi, I guess that's how you say that name. He was the original Icheb. He was on Voyager. And in the tweet, he says, will the Star Trekkers stop liking me if I think Albino Kid, that's Anthony Rapp from Discovery, is a whiner? And Kevin Spacey's response is Admiral, this isn't assault. Hashtag PC Wimp. Anthony Rapp came out and said that Kevin Spacey assaulted him when he was, 14, I think it was. That's just, I think I would probably agree with Stu on this one. I don't think there's I wouldn't ask him back to play this character. Not if he's that doesn't make you a whiner, man. Come on.
Especially if you're having current feuds with current actors from the current shows. But yeah, no, I think that, I don't know. I have no idea what all the Kevin Spacey stuff is about, or what went down, or what even is described as going down. But yeah, clearly this guy has some views that people in the production find problematic, and I probably if I dug into it, I might as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, Anthony Rapp basically during the Me Too movement and everything came out and said that Kevin Spacey assaulted him when he was 14. Anthony Rapp was 14 years old working on a production with Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey apparently hit on him, sexually assaulted him to some degree. To what degree, I'm not completely aware of. But Kevin Spacey chose this time to come out and announce that he was gay. Even further being a dick because gay people are already hit with all this, they're sexual predators nonsense. So the gay community didn't particularly care for that. And and then Kevin Spacey got fired from Game of Thrones, not Game of Thrones, what was House of Cards and et cetera, and nobody wants to touch him anymore. And I have absolutely no problem with that because dick. But I don't.
Yeah, I remembered that. I didn't remember. I didn't know that was Anthony Rapp. I remember that whole story with Kevin Spacey. It was, yeah. But I didn't know that was Anthony Rapp. That's
so. To any Star Trek fans out there who are listening, I don't know what you believe about the Anthony Rapp situation or the Kevin Spacey thing, but attacking CBS All Access for not bringing back Manu, there's a reason, y'all.
Yeah, actually, now that I hear all of that and know that that's going on with between Anthony Rapp and Manu, it seems now that is actually sort of like that killing off Icheb by replacing him with another actor and having one scene where they kill off Icheb seems actually more of a fuck you to the original actor of Icheb. Manu. It's like, all right, well, I guess we're never bringing that guy back. Let's kill him off. we need to kill someone off who would make Seven upset. We need to give Seven a motivation. Well, who can we kill off? Well, we never want to bring this character back. He's not going to get the Hugh treatment.
Yeah.
So yeah, sounds like this guy was also being a bit of a shitlord. You know what I mean? Like by saying the thing like, I wonder if all the Trek fans will stop liking me if I say this. It's like, that's kind of just a shitty way to be.
Is it the same as an edgelord?
No, edgelord is different.
I get all these internet things confused.
Edgelord is something else, Dave. Edgelord is something else.
Yeah, I just douchey assholes like this I've always heard referred to as edgelords. So, I mean, I know what edging is.
Yeah, I think that's it's the frustration from that being vented through being a shitlord, which shitlord is basically just someone who gets online and says shit to stir up shit. Like they're just
the troll.
A troll. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah. Okay.
For the most part.
I remember the old days we just called these people jerk-offs and assholes.
Yeah. That's what they are, but they're specific types of jerks and assholes.
Okay.
Anyway, we need to get out of here. You guys, thank you for listening. Hey, by the way, I think I'll throw the song that I wrote for last week's episode at the end of this podcast because I put them up so late in the week that a lot of people, we get a lot less downloads because it's only up for a day and a half before we post another one. So since I'm working so hard to write these Star Trek songs, I figure I'll post the song at the end of this episode too. Obviously, if you've already heard it, you can just let us go. But yeah, this song is from last week's episode. This song is about Seven of Nine and her relationship with Icheb. And I had a lot of fun writing it, and been having a lot of fun writing them all over the course of this series. And so if you're digging it all, please check out the YouTube Stranded Panda YouTube channel. The Stranded Panda Network is what we're called. So if you search for Stranded Panda, you can find the network's YouTube channel and where I'm posting all these songs. So making little videos with me playing the songs, but with clips from the episode or screenshots from the episode that kind of build the story up a little bit. And this one was neat because it's so much of Icheb's story that I used a lot of Voyager screenshots, and that was kind of fun. Cool.
Absolutely, man.
All right, well, guys, this is Home Again by The Garage. Peace.
Joel on true and live long and prosper.
Dang it, I missed it again. The only place I ever belonged, I had to leave. It took me a while to see the wrong they did to me. I searched hard to find a peace, a way to be me, but in a family. In you I found a home again. You're like me, so I understand how you can never go back again. I'll do my best to help you stand. Just hold my hand. At first I was scared to let you close. I knew I couldn't bear another loss, but I saw you grow and have to choose who you'd be and what you'd lose. In you I found a home again. You're like me, so I understand how you can never go back again. I'll do my best to help you stand. Just hold my hand. I thought I'd see you grow. I thought you'd be there with me when I go. But that day I lived all my fears, when I saw you robbed of your years. I knew I'd do anything to keep you safe, but it scares me what I'll do now that you've gone away. In you I found a home again. You were like me, but I understand that I can never go back again. But I did my best to hold your hand.
Thank you for listening to the Star Trek Universe Podcast, a Stranded Panda production. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Robertson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or maladjusted.tv for his web videos. If you'd like to hear more from Matthew Carroll, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast or listen to his music. Just search for Matthew Carroll anywhere you get music.